Hey, guys, what up? Are you playing Diablo 4 and are you like, I don't know how to play this game. I don't know what I'm doing. This game makes no sense. My character sucks. Everything is hard. This is very difficult. Well, if you don't want to follow a build guide, okay. I have one if you want to follow mine, but if you don't want to follow a build guide and you want to do your own thing, this is a general idea of how you need to play this game, okay? All you got to do is from level 1 up to level, basically up until you beat the campaign. I would recommend you play on World Tier 1. You can see the World Tier at the start of the game when you pick the game, blah, blah, blah. You can change it when you're in the game at the statue in Kyovashad, the starting town you start at. It's right in the middle there. You can change difficulty there. I would recommend World Tier 1 until you beat the campaign. As soon as you beat the campaign, I would then recommend World Tier 2. Then you do get level 50 off of that. Get your capstone dungeon done. Go into World Tier 3. Do that all the way up to level 70. Do your capstone dungeon level 2. And then go from 70 to 100 in World Tier 4. That's what I would recommend, because what that does is that allows you to farm pretty efficiently when your character has no gear to get gear drops in World Tier 1. And then when you have decent gear in World Tier 1, and also World Tier 2, it's like the same drops. You then go into World Tier 3, which starts dropping Sacred Gear. And Sacred Gear ultimately makes all non-Sacred Gear terrible. It's just better. And then finally, once you have a good set of Sacred Gear, you go into World Tier 4. And World Tier 4 drops Ancestral items. And Ancestral items make all Sacred items suck, because again, they have a higher innate item level. So that's generally the idea you want to go for. And then along the way, if you just do two things, you'll have the best time of your life. One thing is as soon as you get World Tier 3, you can start doing these things right here. They're called Hell Tides. As soon as you get World Tier 3, do Hell Tides as much as you can, as often as you can, because these things give you crafting material throughout the process of doing them. You get them from opening up chests and killing bosses throughout the Hell Tide, and you can make quite a bit through one Hell Tide. Like, these things last for 1 hour, and you can make probably like 30 plus of the crafting currency. And that crafting currency is very important, because one other thing you should absolutely be doing with that crafting currency and all the other crafting currencies you're going to be getting is going here and upgrading your gear. This guy, the blacksmith and upgrade item here, literally all the gear you have that's like your best gear you have, upgrade that shit, especially once it's all sacred. Upgrade it as much as you can all the way to the max tier that it can possibly go to. And then the same thing about the jeweler, upgrade your jewelry to the max rank that it can go to. 100% should be done. You should definitely be doing that, especially once you're starting to farm Hell Tides. And then one more thing you should definitely be doing to make your character's power level just go up and be super easy peasy so your character doesn't suck balls is come over here to the occultist, the guy that does sigils and stuff and like extracts legendary powers. And obviously, if I think everyone kind of knows at this point how to do rare item, legendary item extractions and stuff. And if you don't know how to do it, it is something that you'll learn throughout the process of playing the first 2 world tiers from level 1 to level 50. You essentially can take effects off of a legendary item and put them on a rare item to in turn make basically a new legendary item. Legendary items and rare items are like interchangeable. Like, they're all both important and they both share qualities of each other. A legendary item is literally a rare item with a bonus stat on it, a bonus affix on it, and you can change it around and stuff by extracting and then imprinting it on a new item. But over here, this thing is something a lot of people don't talk about. This is really important, but it's really easy, and it's really good, and it's something you need to be doing. And right here, this again, these Forgotten Souls is the Hell Tide crafting mat. And what this does is you can literally find gear, and you can take dead stats off of your gear. Everyone is always going to find gear that's decent, but will always have dead stats every now and again. Like, for instance, I think what this chest piece had. So, like, right there, this chest piece says it does 1,035 life, 13.5 poison damage, 38.3 lightning res. And the other stat that I rolled off of it was something like damage with dual wielding weapons or something like that, or when swapping weapons, some shit like that. And I took it off because it was a dead stat for me. Also, poison damage is another dead stat for me. So this chest piece had 2 dead stats, but I re-rolled one of the stats off, and I made it have total armor. So now this chest piece only has 1 dead stat, so it's way better. This total armor percentage is amazing. Look at my helmet. Same thing. This thing right here, it now has triple resistance and total armor. Amazing item now because of that. And I think the stat it had before this was like cold damage, and instead of cold res, and cold damage does nothing for my build again. So now we made this helmet have all really good stats. My legs, same thing. Damage reduction from close, damage reduction overall, damage reduction from distant, total armor. Like my items are so much better because I re-rolled off bad stats and put better stats in their place. So definitely make sure you're doing this as often as possible to the gear you're wearing. Make sure you're upgrading all of your gear to level 5, rank 4 or rank 5, depending on if you're wearing Sacred or Ancestral. And your character will just automatically be a ton better. But what I would recommend you do, the last thing I'll say about people who just want to have a general idea of how to play this game, aside from what I just said, obviously, if you go to look at a build guide, you can get a thorough build guide for whatever's going on there. But simply put, what you should be doing when you play this game, like I said, is always having the priority of experience as your first and most big goal. And just to give you guys a tip, grouping in Diablo 4 is extremely good. You don't have to do it, but grouping is really, really, really good. And what I mean by that is when you group up with somebody, every single the max party size in this game is 4, and every time you group up with somebody, the mobs gain 75% more health, so they get a little bit tankier. I can't remember if they get a little bit more damage or not. Someone in chat might know. I can't remember, but I know they get 75% more health, and they're a little bit stronger essentially. But the important thing to understand is a monster is worth 100 XP, 100% of its XP, and it remains to be worth 100% of its XP when you're in a party with somebody else. And when you're in a party with somebody else, you get if you're standing near them, you get a buff that is 5% more XP per player near you, which is really nice. And it's also safer because you guys can use each other's abilities in unison and combine your stuff to stay alive. But if you spread out, it's again, as long as you're in the same zone overall, like if you go to the same dungeon, if you're on completely opposite sides of the dungeon, you both still get XP for kills that you get. You lose the buff though, the 5% XP buff, which is whatever, because what happens is you guys are both killing mobs in a different area, like the same dungeon or same zone, but different areas of it, and you're both killing shit, and you're both getting 100% of the XP both players are getting. So if both of you kill one mob, you both got XP for 2 mobs. And if you both kill 2 different sides of the dungeon, you eliminate a lot of movement. Like it's like, oh, I'll take 50% of the dungeon, you take 50% of the dungeon, and we'll just clear it in half the time that it normally would have taken us both to clear the whole thing running across the floor. So think about if you have 4 players, like you can do it really, really, really fast. And there are some dungeons where you start in the middle rather than on one of the sides and have to go to the other side. So if you start in the middle and all 4 of you go different directions, you can wipe out a dungeon in literally a minute, maybe 2 minutes. All I'm saying is, if you ever wonder why people level really fast in this game, that's exactly what they're doing. They're grouping and they're spreading out in dungeons and they're just sharing XP on all the kills, and they're just speed clearing dungeons and doing them over and over and over and stuff like that. So anyways, grouping is really good in this game. That's the point I'm trying to make. You can solo. Soloing is viable, but grouping is definitely, if you can, you should group. That's all. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's really, really nice. But now, to give you an idea, strategy of how to do whatever you should be doing, I kind of said where you should be for all your things, but the last thing I'll say is to play this game, what you should be doing is, first things first, you should be doing the campaign until you get your mount. This is what I would recommend. Do the campaign until you get your mount. After you get your mount, go and get all of the statues of Lilith. Literally collect them all. because statues of Lilith give you passive stats. They give you like passive strength, passive intelligence, passive willpower, all these stats. You get all of these passive stats from getting the statues of Lilith, and there's 160 of them. So definitely worth your while to go get them, and it will go a lot faster once you have your mount. So you can go collect them. There's like a website you can go look at. I wish I would have had this open actually. I don't have it on the top of my head, but you can Google it. Sorry, I feel like I failed you. There is definitely a browser where you can look at statues of Lilith. If someone in chat can link me, is this it right here? No, this is not it. Okay, we're just gonna move on from this. Anyways, the website that has statues of Lilith on it, and you can find statues, and it's super easy. I would definitely recommend doing that instead of doing it yourself manually. If you want to do it manually, do an Easter egg hunt. You got to find 160 of them, just so you know. But yeah, I would recommend get your mount, go get all the statues of Lilith after that, then finish the campaign, level your ass up to 50, do Capstone Dungeon, do World Tier 3, and during World Tier 3, work on your reputation while doing Helltides. So reputation is this stuff right here. Finish these off in World Tier 3, or get some major progress done on them, because getting all of your final reputation bonuses for each of the main reputations gives you Paragon points, and Paragon points are massive additions to power in your character, and you unlock Paragon boards at level 50, so you can start working on it really heavily at level 50 plus. So yeah, Helltides will be a great way to farm gear and also farm XP. And then between Helltides, which is a Helltide happens for an hour every 2 hours. So basically half the time you'd be doing Helltides. The other half of the time you'd be working on your reputations. And if you need a break from reputations, and let's say you're getting bored and you're like, man, fuck reputations, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. Then you could totally do some Nightmare Dungeons and start working on your glyphs. I would say that's glyph leveling should be secondary to your reputation, though. This should definitely be the priority. And the way you level reputation properly is, first and foremost, you do your strongholds. Every single reputation, just do your strongholds first. First thing you should do is strongholds, because it unlocks all the dungeons, and it's the best rep you can get. It's 100 rep per stronghold. And then after that, you should do a combination of side quests and also side dungeons. And assuming you did all of your altars of Lilith, they give renown as well as reputation. They give reputation as well. It would be nice if you had already finished them by now, which is why I said you should do it after you're done with the campaign, because these things are multi-purpose. They not only help you with this rep, but they also give you passive stats. So you want to get them either way, and you may as well get them while you need the rep rather than getting them after you're done with the rep and wasting time, because you may as well kill two birds with one stone. So if statues are done, strongholds are done, finish off the rest of it by doing side quests and also side dungeons. The way I would say you should do it is you should start doing some side quests at first, and then if they lead to a dungeon, wonderful. You can double dip a dungeon quest and also a dungeon first time experience, which will give you 30 rep plus 20 rep, which is 50. But any combination of side quest and dungeon, go for it. If I were you, I would do side quests, and then as soon as they lead to the dungeon, I would do a dungeon. That's what I would do, and I would do it for every rep, and get them all done. And then as soon as you're done with reputations, and you're done with statues of Lilith and all that shit, all you got to do then is again continue the grind for experience, which grouping is the best way to do it, but you can still solo. But the other thing you got to do then is level your glyphs in your Paragon boards, and these are glyphs. These things down here, like I guess I can full screen this. On the left side here, these are glyphs. So you're going to find these doing Nightmare Dungeons, and you're going to pick and choose the ones you want the most. And these are extremely good for leveling your character's power overall. So you should absolutely be grabbing them, because if you don't know this, notice how there is a red grid around this glyph right here. That glyph right there has a red grid, so there's nothing there right now. I don't have a glyph there. I just took it out, put it back in, And now there's a red grid around it. That's because that's the active zone for this glyph. And some glyphs, you just want to get the additional... you can see at the very, very bottom where it says requirements in green, 25 out of 25 strength. And if you look right above that where it says additional bonus, if requirements are met, and that's the strength of requirement, when an enemy is damaged by you, they become vulnerable for 3 seconds. This cannot happen more than once every 20 seconds per enemy. Like, there are glyphs that will have amazing bonuses for you that you'll want to get. And sometimes you just want the bonus, like for this glyph right here, which is fine. It's great. You just want to make sure you get it. But if you get this glyph to level 15, which is what it does is it expands the radius. It makes it basically grow one more box in every direction, like a red box in every direction. It just gets a grid spot larger every single way. It allows you to unlock or to grab more of these nodes around it, and it makes it way easier to hit these requirements. So it saves you Paragon points. And even furthermore, even better than that, and saving Paragon points is nice because then you can allocate them going towards other stuff that's really good. But even better than that, when you get a glyph node like this, you get a larger box. Like this one here is level 15. This ranger glyph of mine is level 15. So you can see on the glyph it says radius size 4. Radius size is at max. It can't get larger than that. So every time I level this glyph beyond level 15, it'll just increase the damage it does, but it won't increase the radius. But because it has increased the radius, it now grabs access to way more of the nodes that are available. And then it just has absurd amounts of damage it can do. And right now I've actually respec'd my guy to do more survivability because I'm playing hardcore. So I spec'd into this over here. And I dropped out a lot of my decks here. But essentially, this glyph is just this one glyph alone is going to be doing over 100% of my damage. Like where it says 50.2% marksman skill damage. This is going to be doing even more than that when I refill all these deck spots that are grayed out. And also continue to level this glyph even more. This will go beyond 100% of my damage. So glyphs are super, super, super good for your character's power level. So that's what you should definitely be doing when you should be mixing in Nightmare Dungeons to level them up. And then also just doing Hell Tides for experience grinding. And then if you can, do dungeon grinds, like standard dungeon grinds, and split farms with party members. Like a dungeon right now that's super good that a lot of people are doing is a dungeon called Champion's Demise. It is this dungeon on the map right over here. It's right there. Usually you'll take that waypoint right there and run your ass over there and get in there. It is a crazy, crazy good dungeon for efficiency. It's kind of like what I said, where like the way the dungeon takes you is you go to the middle and then you go any direction. You go either bottom right, bottom left, or top left. Because top right's the door, leads you to the middle, and then you go all different directions. And if you have multiple people taking different directions, it is crazy fast experience. So a combination of dungeon grinds, Helltide grinds, and Nightmare Dungeon for glyph levels. Nightmare Dungeons are like okay for experience, but just know that Nightmare Dungeons for hardcore players is probably the most scary way that you could die, because there's a lot of extra affixes on Nightmare Dungeons. Like, as you can see, this is an example of a Nightmare Dungeon. If I were to go in there, the green part is something I get where it says you gain 6% damage reduction for every 10% health you're missing, which is really nice, by the way. That's a super good bonus. It's not always that. It changes. Like, right here, I have Poisonous Evade. Over here, I have Magic Find. Over here, I have Quick Killer. There, I have Gold Find. There, I have Shadow Damage. There, I have Increased Healing. There, I have Control Impaired. It's like different mods all the time. But now look at some of the mods that are like negatives. All the white ones are negative. Swordmaid's Wrath chases players around, releasing deadly pulses when reaching a player. This is basically a big stone that just chases you around the dungeon, and it procs like novas around you that if you get hit by it, it fucking owns you, and you can't ever stop it. It just chases you, and it creates like a kill mechanic in the dungeon that could be scary. And then lightning damage for monsters. All monsters deal an additional 20% of their physical damage dealt as lightning. So now all the mobs hit way harder. So again, there's just all these fucking mods that the monsters have that makes it way scarier that you could die in, okay? So I don't think it's probably the best for players to farm Nightmare Dungeons for experience. It's probably makes more sense to group up and farm standard dungeons with no mods, which is way easier, and you can split farm for way faster experience. But yeah, essentially once you get all those things I was talking about done earlier, like the reps, the statues, get your Paragon points, and you start getting your glyphs up to a decent level, It really just is about getting level 100 and keeping your gear up to date. So then the last thing you'll be doing is you'll be trying to find gear that, down the equipment tab here, you'll be trying to find gear that is as close as possible to item level 820 as it can possibly be. Level 820, so do you see on the top of this chest where it says Ancestral Legendary Chest Armor, 764 plus 25? That plus 25 means it gets 5 item levels or 5 item power per upgrade. So that's something I did at the blacksmith. But this chest piece is a 764 base. You can get up to a 820 base on an ancestral piece of gear. And your level only changes the level of requirement it takes to wear it when you find it. So if you get really fucking lucky and you find a really high item power item at like level 60, like this one right here, I found this at 62 and it's really high. So that's really, really, really nice because I unlocked my capstone at level 61 because I'm fucking crazy. You should do that at 70, but I was fucking YOLO. I was killing level 73 mobs at level 61 and it was pretty scary. I don't recommend that. I almost died like 3 times doing it. But however, essentially, like I said, the end game for now in preseason before season 1 that you'll be going for is again trying to get the best stats for your character for whatever build you're doing as you can. Look like this is not a build guide, so I'm not going to go super deep into that. I do have a video for my build, which I'll talk more about stats and stuff. But it's really just looking for gear that's as close to item level 820 as possible and getting good stats on it while also leveling up your glyphs and nightmare dungeons to get them really high, to make them really strong. And then also finally just farming experience to get as close to level 100 or to get level 100 ideally. And then progressing to do other forms of in-game like Echo of Lilith or whatever. But that's essentially what you should be doing. That's the game. If you do like the upgrade stuff, like enchant your gear and upgrade your gear, people who don't do that tend to have very, very weak characters that will die. So hopefully this helps give you an idea. If you didn't realize you could do this kind of stuff, that's how you do it. The biggest tip I can give you, again, just to reiterate one more time, do your fucking Hell Tides, because Hell Tides are how you actually craft in this game. It gives you the material to actually enchant your gear and also cap out your items to max upgrades. And the Hell Tides themselves are great forms of experience and also great forms of farming items. So anyways, guys, good luck. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And peace.